Batman 2, based on a screenplay by Sam Hamm, adapted by Tim Maxwell. Chapter 1. Frozen Justice. Hell had frozen over in Gotham City, 2 weeks shy of Christmas. Snowflakes gently blanketed the streets, transforming the usually gritty city into a serene winter wonderland. Strangers exchanged greetings with warmth, and even the Salvation Army Santas seemed at peace as they rang their bells on street corners. A sign above Broad Avenue illuminated the festive spirit. Joyeux Noël Gotham. Only 16 shopping days left till Christmas. The bustling streets were alive with shoppers, their faces lit with holiday cheer. At a souvenir store, a weary mother struggled with her 7-year-old son, who, adorned in Batman gear, begged for more merchandise. Batman-themed items flooded the store, from t-shirts to keychains, enticing every passerby. As night fell and the snowstorm intensified, the mood shifted abruptly. An explosion shattered the tranquil scene, followed by gunfire and the piercing sound of a security alarm. Carnage unfolded outside Schrock & Co., Gotham's premier jewelry store. Robbers dressed in white camo emerged from shattered windows, their arms laden with stolen goods. Carolers, caught in the chaos, scattered in fear as the thieves fired wildly. Amid the confusion, a Polar Bar delivery truck, chains clinking against the icy road, passed by with oblivious cartoon igloo decorations. A street corner Santa waved cheerily, unaware of the mayhem unfolding nearby. Police sirens blared, but the snow-laden streets hindered their pursuit. Snowmobiles, commandeered by the robbers, skated effortlessly past squad cars struggling for traction. With each passing moment, it seemed the criminals would escape into the snowy night. Yet, a beacon of hope appeared in the form of a familiar silhouette blazing across the night sky. The bat signal. From the depths of Gotham Park emerged the unmistakable roar of the Batmobile, its presence electrifying the freezing air. Batman, cool and calculating behind the wheel, assessed the situation. His car, equipped with gadgets and sheer determination, pursued the snowmobiles through the park's treacherous terrain. With precision and tactical finesse, he neutralized the criminals one by one, using everything from heat-seeking torpedoes to an industrial grappling hook. Meanwhile, onlookers witnessed the spectacle with awe and relief. Even the homeless by their makeshift fire saw the Batmobile streak by, its path illuminated by bursts of flame and heroic resolve. In a daring finale, Batman cornered the last robber, Santa Claus himself, on his snowmobile laden with stolen jewels. With a swift maneuver, the Batmobile ensnared Santa in a net, bringing the chaotic chase to a decisive end. As Gotham's finest gathered to apprehend the criminals, the Batmobile vanished into the night, leaving behind a city both grateful and mystified. Amidst the chaos and the snow, a cop remarked with a touch of holiday irony, "Merry Christmas," as Santa, now gift-wrapped in a net, was led away. Chapter 2. Rise of the Penguin. City Hall stood at the heart of Gotham, its steps overflowing with TV minicam crews and a restless crowd. Commissioner Gordon, a stern figure in the chaos, held up a statement, his voice drowned out by the fervent chanting rising from the assembled youth. They wore black Batman sweatshirts and red berets, a symbol of their allegiance to the Order of the Bat. The commissioner struggled to make himself heard over the crowd's uproar, emphasizing the police force's recovery of stolen jewels with Batman's help. But his words were futile against the impassioned cries demanding the streets be reclaimed. Inside Wayne Manor, Alfred the butler watched the chaos unfold on the kitchen television. A troubled frown etched on his face. As he prepared sandwiches, a slip of his knife drew blood, a testament to his distraction. Switching off the TV, Alfred turned to the radio, seeking solace in the familiar strains of Good King Wenceslas. He arranged the sandwiches on a silver tea service, carrying it upstairs to Bruce's library. In the dimly lit sanctuary of knowledge, Alfred set down the tray and unlocked a hidden drawer in Bruce's desk. Amongst old clippings detailing the tragic murder of Thomas and Martha Wayne, he found a concealed switch. With a soft click, a section of the bookshelf slid aside, revealing a secret stairway leading into darkness. Alfred descended into the Batcave, where good King Wenceslas continued to play softly in the background. He placed the tea service on a cluttered lab table, scanning the monitors for any sign of Bruce. The screens flickered with scenes of chaos from the city above, but Bruce was nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, Bruce emerged from the shadows, descending on a thin wire like a specter from below. Dressed in casual attire, but equipped with his utility belt, he landed gracefully beside Alfred. The tension in Alfred's posture eased slightly upon seeing his master unharmed. Bruce dismissed the chaos above as he showcased a new invention, a collapsible framework resembling an umbrella skeleton. Alfred marveled at the ingenuity as Bruce demonstrated its function, showing how it could deploy and retract at will. As they settled for tea, Alfred brought up the Fireman's Toy Fund and other charitable endeavors for the coming holidays. Bruce, however, seemed preoccupied, his mind drifting to concerns about Vicky Vale and what to give her for Christmas. Alfred watched his troubled master carefully, offering a reassuring presence amidst Bruce's inner turmoil. As they sipped tea in the dimly lit cave, the distant echoes of Batman's legacy mingled with the holiday cheer, casting a poignant shadow over Wayne Manor. In the confines of a stark prison cell, rows of cages filled with chirping birds lined the concrete walls. Mr. Boniface, an eccentric figure in prison grays, stood before a cracked mirror, meticulously grooming himself while a canary perched on his shoulder sang merrily. Despite his peculiar appearance, beak-like nose, rotund figure, and theatrical mannerisms, Mr. Boniface exuded an air of dignified self-importance. A prison guard interrupted his morning routine, calling him by the nickname Pengy, which Mr. Boniface disdainfully ignored. Reluctantly, he returned the canary to its cage and followed the guard out of his cell. In the warden's office, Mr. Boniface, accompanied by his attorney, faced the parole board. He presented a hand-drawn map indicating the buried location of $42 million, expressing a sudden desire to repay his debts and reintegrate into society. Despite skepticism from the parole officers, his clean record and scholarly pursuits in ornithology, evidenced by publications in respected journals, swayed their opinion. The parole board, impressed by his apparent change of heart, endorsed his application for parole. As Mr. Boniface shook hands with the board members, a black mynah bird in the office corner squawked loudly. "Crime does not pay." The attorney proudly noted that the bird had been trained by his client. Back in his cell during free time, Mr. Boniface discovered that his fellow inmate, T-Bone, had released all his birds. Distraught, Mr. Boniface confronted T-Bone, who callously explained it was a humane act. Upon finding yellow feathers and fresh blood, Mr. Boniface suppressed his rage and offered T-Bone his Walkman. Later, upon his release from prison, now dressed in formal attire, Mr. Boniface, known as the Penguin, emerged from the prison gates to the frigid air, greeted by his loyal associates, Frick and Frack. They discussed the buried money and his amassed wealth as they drove away in a stretch limo. While en route, Mr. Boniface reveled in his newfound freedom and financial success. He checked an electronic device and, outside the prison, unleashed a swarm of pigeons upon T-Bone, who was tormented and ultimately killed by the birds. The limo disappeared down the road, trailed by a massive flock of pigeons, symbolizing Mr. Boniface's triumphant return to Gotham City. Chapter 3: A Feathered Return to Gotham. Alfred opened the grand front doors of Wayne Manor to find Vicky Vale waiting on the portico. With Alfred's help, she brought in a long, narrow gift box. Inside the box were skis, an unusual choice for Bruce. Alfred smiled knowingly, promising to keep her secret. Vicky handed Alfred another small gift with a tag addressed to him, surprising him with her thoughtfulness. Before they could hide the gifts, Bruce descended the staircase, dressed for dinner. Vicky waved urgently, silently signaling Bruce not to look. She hurried over and embraced him, diverting his attention from the gifts. Understanding her hint, Alfred quietly lifted one end of the ski box and began to move it towards the tree. Outside Wayne Manor, fires burned in metal cans at Gotham Park, where a community of homeless people had set up camp. Protesters marched with signs, "Save the park. Parks are for people. This park is our home." A sleek Lamborghini stood nearby, stark against the makeshift shelters. Bruce and Vicky sat inside the Lamborghini, observing the scene outside. Vicky expressed her concern about the growing number of homeless people in the park. Bruce listened quietly, unsure of how to respond. Shifting gears, Bruce turned the car towards the park entrance. At Pub in the Park, an upscale establishment, Bruce and Vicky exited after dinner. Vicky laid out a series of photographs depicting homelessness and urban decay on the table. Their interaction unfolded amidst the gritty atmosphere of the Wharf Rat, setting the stage for a curious and potentially dangerous liaison. It was just after midnight at Pier 31, where the snow fell silently onto icy waters and deserted wharfs, except for a small steamboat. The deck was lined with a menacing crew of armed thugs, facing off against another group of goons waiting on the dock below. Tensions were palpable. Something big was about to unfold. The chief dock goon signaled to his lieutenant, who carried a black medical bag. They cautiously made their way up the gangplank, surrounded by dock goons with guns trained on the boat thugs. Amid the nervous silence, one dock goon muttered to his colleague about a missing member named Ricky. On the steamboat's deck, the lieutenant unpacked chemical testing equipment from his bag, while the lead boat thug gestured towards a stack of shipping crates resting on a large net spread across the deck. Choosing a crate at random, the chief goon watched as it was pried open to reveal packets of white powder. High above, atop a ramshackle boathouse, a black silhouette observed the scene. Quickly retreating from view, only the distinctive outline of pointed ears remained visible. Back on the deck, the chief goon selected a crate, and preparations escalated as the netting was secured to a crane. Demanding to see the money, a dock goon presented a suitcase filled with cash, prompting approval from the boat thugs. As crates began to ascend, chaos erupted. The netting gave way, sending dozens of crates crashing down onto the pier below, crushing dock goons and spilling drugs and artifacts. Panic ensued. Gunfire erupted as the goon with the money attempted to flee, only to be shot and sent plunging into the water. Amid the pandemonium, the chief goon was shot by his own men, suspected of betrayal. The surviving boat thug ordered the boat cast off while chaos reigned on the dock. Suddenly, a shadowy figure landed gracefully on the deck of the steamboat. Clad in black leather with a bondage mask and pointed ears, she swiftly dispatched the thugs with lethal efficiency. The remaining boat thug attempted to escape, but was swiftly dealt with. As the steamboat pulled away, the masked woman scattered the remaining dock goons with gunfire before leaping from the boat and landing agilely on the pier. With most foes fled, she surveyed the aftermath of the battle. Ignoring scattered drugs worth millions, she located a specific crate, retrieved a carefully wrapped parcel, and inspected it, a raven statuette carved from onyx. Placing a card in a moaning dock goon's pocket, she slipped away into the night. Meanwhile, an old watchman discovered the scene, shocked by the carnage and a mutilated body. The word Murcielago echoed through his terrified muttering. Cut to Penguin's lair, alive with cold-weather birds and a chilled pool where the Penguin himself emerged, greeted by his attendant Frick. Welcoming Selina Kyle, who brought him the raven statuette, the Penguin expressed admiration for her skills. Despite the freezing environment, he nonchalantly tended to his birds, oblivious to the cold. After discussing their business, they toasted to their success, the second biggest crime in Gotham City's history. Chapter 4. Betrayal and Vigilance. In a dimly lit police observation room, Commissioner Gordon and Lieutenant Eddie Bullock stood silently, peering through a two-way glass into the interrogation room. Inside, Julio, the lone survivor of the dock massacre, recounted his harrowing tale. His bandaged face contorted with fear as he gestured wildly, describing a shadowy figure with fangs and claws. Gordon frowned as he read the card handed to him by Bullock. It read, "Those who feed on the soul of Gotham will suffer my wrath," signed with a bat emblem. He seemed unconvinced, shaking his head slightly. Before they could ponder further, a policeman interrupted, announcing Walter Barrett's arrival for questioning. In downtown Gotham, Vicky Vale, a determined photographer, captured the chaos at a demolition site. Randall Shaw, a prominent construction magnate, supervised the eviction of a destitute family from the condemned building. Vicky's camera clicked away, documenting every moment, especially Shaw's visibly upset reaction upon seeing her. Meanwhile, inside a police station, Barrett, a wealthy industrialist, made a frantic phone call to Shaw, complaining that his shipment has been seized and that they took away his Raven. Shaw's shocked silence spoke volumes. Vicky, sensing something crucial, captured his reaction on film. Back at the Gotham Globe City room, Vicky presented her photos to Schultz, the managing editor. She highlighted Shaw's intense reaction during the eviction scene. A reporter rushed in with breaking news: Batman implicated in a recent dock massacre. Vicky's astonishment mirrored Schultz's concern as they processed the implications. Later that evening at Wayne Manor, Alfred and Vicky discussed the fallout from the accusations against Batman. Alfred, ever loyal to Bruce Wayne, listened intently as Vicky expressed her doubts. In Bruce's library, deep within Wayne Manor, Bruce Wayne listened attentively to a recording of Commissioner Gordon's contentious conversation. He knew he was being framed, and the weight of the accusation hung heavy in the air. Night fell over Gotham City. The bat signal blazed across the sky, calling Batman into action. The Batmobile streaked through the streets, pursued by police cars. Batman deftly evaded them, using smoke and skillful maneuvers. As the police lost sight of him, he abandoned the Batmobile and took to the rooftops. From above, he watched the city below, grappling with the implications of the false accusations against him. In the shadows of Gotham, a dark figure moved with purpose. Despite the accusations and doubts, Batman remained steadfast in his mission to protect the city. Justice would prevail, even in the face of adversity. In the lofty heights of a Gotham penthouse, the distant hum of sirens barely registers amidst the opulence of Randall Shaw's domain. Shaw, a prominent construction magnate, lounges nonchalantly beside a newly acquired Brancusi sculpture, his surroundings a testament to immense wealth and taste. Across the room, a mysterious woman in a sleek black dress observes silently from the shadows. She gestures towards the sculpture, indicating it's a counterfeit. A revelation that Shaw, initially surprised, absorbs with a mixture of curiosity and amusement. Pouring 2 glasses of wine, he engages her in a conversation that subtly hints at her involvement in the underground world of art theft. Their interaction shifts subtly, becoming more intimate as Shaw, intrigued by her reputation, circles closer to her. She accepts the wine graciously, revealing herself as Selina Kyle, known for her prowess in acquiring rare and valuable artifacts. Entering Shaw's bedroom, the atmosphere changes dramatically. Selina, now wearing an eye-catching outfit, takes control. She ties Shaw to the bed with stockings and reveals a special bracelet with hidden claws. In a quick and decisive action, Selina incapacitates Shaw, leaving him lifeless on the bed. As alarms echo through the penthouse, Selina retrieves a stolen statuette from Shaw's safe, the chaos below signaling the imminent arrival of law enforcement. Batman, perched high above Gotham, intercepts police chatter implicating him in Shaw's demise. Activating his cape into wings, he plunges into the night, the cityscape unfolding below him as he navigates towards the scene. Police rush into Shaw's bedroom, discovering the grim tableau: a murdered Shaw and a cryptic bat symbol etched in blood on the wall. Meanwhile, Catwoman maneuvers through the rooftops, evading pursuit and disappearing into the urban maze below. In Gotham Park, amidst a protest against evictions, Vicky Vale captures the brutality on film. Targeted by aggressive workers, she faces imminent danger until a young vigilante named Dick intervenes. Swift and agile, he dispatches the assailants, leaving Vicky with questions about his identity as he disappears into the shadows. Observing from afar, Vicky tracks the vigilante's movements, capturing his evasive tactics with her camera. Torn between journalistic curiosity and respect for his anonymity. Chapter 5: Gotham's Dance of Power. In the dimly lit aviary of the Penguin's lair, a canary chirped blissfully in its cage while a black cat prowled nearby, fixated on the fluttering bird. With a graceful leap, the cat pounced, claws outstretched, eliciting a sharp shriek from the canary. The commotion drew the attention of Selina, who swiftly scooped up the cat, soothing it in her arms. Selina, draped in a sleek black outfit that accentuated her allure, glanced over at the Penguin, meticulously polishing a raven statue at his desk. Irritated by the disturbance, he threatened the cat's life, prompting Selina to retaliate with a defiant glare. She then shared a startling revelation with the Penguin, her recent encounter with Batman, a figure of fascination for both. As Selina reminisced about the enigmatic vigilante, the Penguin, bewildered and agitated, paced nervously. Selina's nonchalant demeanor clashed with the Penguin's mounting concerns over their risky endeavors. Yet, she dismissed his worries, emphasizing her pursuit of pleasure over monetary gain. Outside in Gotham Square, Bruce Wayne strolled alongside Vicky, heading towards her workplace. Amidst Christmas decorations, they passed a newsstand blaring accusatory headlines linking Batman to the murder of a millionaire. Bruce's frustration was palpable as Vicky defended her employer, suggesting the potential societal benefits of the fear Batman instilled in the powerful. Their attention was diverted to a souvenir shop across the street, hastily removing Batman merchandise in favor of safer alternatives. Bruce's annoyance grew, reflecting on the negative publicity surrounding Batman, a sentiment Vicky found oddly compelling. Later at the Gotham Globe offices, Vicky's discontent boiled over upon discovering her story on attacks against the homeless, shelved by her publisher, Provost. Confronting him, she challenged his motives, insinuating financial interests in the controversial Park Tower project. Provost's response was curt, warning her against further insinuations for the sake of her career. Leaving Provost's office seething, Vicky's departure left him alone to open a foreboding letter, its contents chilling him to the core. A cryptic warning signed with a bat emblem, promising retribution against those who exploited Gotham's soul. As tensions escalated in Gotham, the city found itself at the mercy of forces both overt and covert, each playing their part in a complex dance of power, intrigue, and vigilantism. Walter Barrett emerged from Gotham Hall of Justice, besieged by reporters hungry for his reaction to the court proceedings. His attorney shielded him from the clamor as they made their way to a waiting car. Pigeons scattered from their perches as the car pulled into traffic, where it idled at a stoplight under a flock of descending birds. Inside, Barrett spoke urgently into his phone, arranging a meeting with the Raven Society. Annoyed by the delay, he cursed the pigeons as their droppings marred the freshly washed windshield. Curiously, a small capsule struck the wiper blade moments before the car exploded, leaving a smoldering crater in the intersection. Meanwhile, in the Batcave, Bruce Wayne monitored the aftermath on a video feed. Disinterested in social obligations, he ignored calls about museum openings, fixated on the news implicating Batman in a series of high-profile murders. Commissioner Gordon arrived at Wayne Manor seeking answers, suggesting a growing suspicion of Batman's involvement. In the Flugelheim Museum, a gala celebrated a new Egyptian exhibit. Bruce, observing the festivities, noticed the uneasy camaraderie among Gotham's elite. Harrison Provost and Elliot Tiptree III, the remaining members of Gotham's 5 families, discussed their vulnerability amidst the recent violence. Selina Kyle, curator of the exhibit, captivated Bruce's attention. Her provocative charm and insider knowledge intrigued him, despite Vicky Vale's jealous interruption. As tensions rose and accusations flew, Bruce found himself drawn deeper into the web of intrigue surrounding the city's powerful and their mysterious assailant. As the night unfolded, alliances shifted, suspicions deepened, and Bruce Wayne navigated a precarious landscape where loyalty and danger intertwined under the shadow of Gotham's vigilante protector. Chapter 6: The Raven's Whisper. On a Gotham Globe rooftop, a starling swoops into an exposed ventilation shaft, unseen by the armed bodyguards stationed outside J. Harrison Provost's publisher office. Inside, Provost, visibly tense, murmurs into his phone, ensuring privacy despite his unease. In another part of the city, Tiptree sits in his home study, bottles on the table, indicating a night of heavy drinking. His voice trembles as he reflects on the past and the sudden threat from the mysterious Batman, who seems to know about the Raven Society. Provost, interrupted by a chirp from a heating vent, looks up suspiciously. Despite the odd interruption, he continues his conversation, outlining plans to leave the country with his secrets. Unbeknownst to him, a small bird hidden in the vent carries a tiny microphone and battery pack. Meanwhile, in the lair of the Penguin, Selina Kyle discusses her plans with the notorious criminal. Her intention: to infiltrate Provost's estate and locate a valuable artifact, the Raven. The Penguin, amused, listens as Selina outlines her strategy, knowing her resourcefulness well. At the Fluegelheim Museum, Selina gives Bruce Wayne a private tour of her cluttered workspace. Among artifacts and curiosities, they discuss ancient relics and mythical creatures. Bruce, intrigued by Selina's expertise and charm, finds himself drawn to her despite his usual reserve. As Selina playfully flirts with Bruce, their chemistry intensifies until Bruce's severe allergy to cats abruptly interrupts their moment. Hecate, Selina's feline companion, triggers a violent sneezing fit in Bruce, forcing him to abruptly leave, much to Selina's surprise and amusement. As Bruce retreats, leaving Selina to ponder their connection, he reflects on the danger and allure she represents in his otherwise controlled life. Selina, still holding Hecate, watches him go with a mix of curiosity and satisfaction, knowing she has left an impression that may draw him back. Bruce emerged from the museum, disoriented. He walked past a newsstand and picked up the afternoon edition of the Globe. His eyes scanned the personal ads until they settled on a peculiar invitation involving Christmas and a Christmas tree. He looked up the street and saw workmen preparing a massive Christmas tree at Gotham Square. The annual lighting ceremony was approaching. Bruce smiled faintly, tucked the paper under his arm, and headed towards his car. Later that night, snow gently fell on a bustling Gotham Square. A crowd had gathered around the towering Christmas tree, singing carols in anticipation of its illumination. Music filled the air, and a band played joyfully on a makeshift stage. Above the square, Batman watched from his usual perch on a rooftop, surveying the scene vigilantly. His gaze shifted to a nearby building, adorned with a rotating globe sculpture and a neon sign for the Gotham City Globe. Across the street from Batman, an armored car pulled up in front of the Globe offices. Security guards, armed and alert, stepped out along with one carrying a mysterious oblong box handcuffed to his wrist. They entered the building without incident as a newspaper delivery van passed by, its sides adorned with an advertisement questioning Batman's role in Gotham. Batman observed the scene with intrigue, wondering if this was part of Catwoman's plan. However, as the guards secured the building and departed, Batman remained watchful, uncertain of the unfolding events. Inside the Globe building, Provost, the publisher, prepared to leave, accompanied by guards ensuring the safety of a valuable box. He instructed his secretary to open an envelope in an hour and notify his wife of their meeting place. On the rooftop, Batman heard faint disturbances amidst the festive caroling. He strained to discern the source over the hum of the helicopter blades and the crowd's joyful singing. Suddenly, gunfire erupted from the rooftop across the square. Catwoman, wielding a rifle, fired relentlessly at guards and the idle helicopter. Chaos ensued as bodies fell and the rooftop became a battlefield. Meanwhile, in an elevator inside the Globe building, Provost and his guards encountered a sudden blackout. Panic ensued as strange noises echoed through the shaft and gunfire seemed to surround them. Back at Gotham Square, the crowd remained oblivious to the turmoil unfolding nearby. They continued singing, enveloped in the spirit of Christmas. Batman, perched high above, strained to identify the source of the disturbance. Another burst of gunfire confirmed his suspicions about Catwoman's involvement. He prepared to intervene. Inside the elevator, Provost and the guards struggled with escalating fear and uncertainty. Strange, twittering noises from above added to their distress as they attempted to regain control of the situation. The elevator descended slowly amidst the chaos above. Provost's grip on sanity slipped as he witnessed the gruesome fate of one guard attacked by unseen forces in the elevator shaft. Desperation consumed Provost as the elevator stalled again, plunging them into darkness. The ominous twittering grew louder, heightening their terror. Atop the elevator, birds roosted, their presence intensifying the guards' dread. They struggled to reach safety as the situation spiraled out of control. With the guards incapacitated, Provost faced a haunting realization. Trapped in an elevator with a mysterious box and an unknown threat lurking above. Back at the Globe building's loading bay, the Penguin orchestrated the chaos, using stolen vehicles and cunning tactics to manipulate Provost into compliance. Provost, driven to the brink of madness, followed the Penguin's instructions, tethering the box to a cord and signaling for help amidst the escalating nightmare. As Provost desperately sought answers, the Penguin's voice echoed through the phone, leaving him to question his fate and the motives behind the orchestrated chaos. The night unfolded in Gotham, a city engulfed in celebration and turmoil, where heroes and villains navigated the thin line between chaos and order, each playing their part in the city's eternal struggle. Provost's fate hung in the balance, his choices shaping the night's events as Batman and Catwoman prepared for their inevitable clash amidst Gotham's festive backdrop. In Gotham Square, carols echoed into the night, blending with sirens and gunfire, as the city braced for another chapter in its ongoing saga of light and darkness. As Provost waited for rescue in the darkened elevator, his mind raced with unanswered questions, his fate tied to the whims of a masked vigilante and a cunning adversary. Chapter 7: Gotham's Christmas Chaos. On a cold December night in Gotham City, the air was thick with anticipation. The city square bustled with festive cheer, illuminated by the twinkling lights of a towering Christmas tree. The joyous atmosphere was shattered, however, by a series of bizarre and violent events orchestrated by the city's notorious criminals. It began with the Penguin, a rotund figure in his distinctive garb, orchestrating chaos from the shadows. His cronies, Frick and Frack, donned in mocking Batman attire, were his willing accomplices. They maneuvered through the city streets in a nondescript newspaper delivery van, a facade concealing their true intentions. Meanwhile, high above the city in the Globe building, Catwoman, a sleek and elusive figure, executed her own daring plan. She moved with feline grace, navigating through the shadows with her sights set on a peculiar prize, a raven box, hidden away in the upper reaches of the building. As the clock struck midnight, Gotham Square erupted into chaos. The first sign of trouble came as the city's elevator systems malfunctioned, unleashing a torrent of frenzied birds upon unsuspecting victims. The elevator car plummeted uncontrollably, a terrifying descent that mirrored the chaos unfolding below. Amidst the festive crowd, unsuspecting citizens found themselves at the mercy of the villain's designs. The news vendor, caught in the crossfire, witnessed the gruesome aftermath of Harrison Provost's demise, a macabre display that shocked the onlookers and further fueled the panic. The chaos spread like wildfire. Bats, unleashed upon the unsuspecting revelers, swarmed Gotham Square, sending the crowd into a frenzy. The joyful carolers became unwitting targets, their merriment shattered by the onslaught from above. Batman, Gotham's steadfast protector, surveyed the unfolding mayhem with a mix of concern and determination. From his vantage point, he observed Catwoman's presence, a tantalizing enigma amidst the chaos. Their confrontation loomed inevitable, a clash between order and anarchy in Gotham's shadowy heart. As the city descended into pandemonium, Batman pursued his elusive foes across rooftops and through the streets. Catwoman's taunts echoed through the night, her tantalizing challenge driving him onward even as the city burned with fear. The final showdown unfolded atop the Globe building. Batman, battered and weary, confronted Catwoman amidst the swirling chaos. Their battle was a ballet of skill and desperation, each move a calculated risk in the deadly game they played. Yet, even as they clashed, fate intervened with a cruel twist. The arrival of Gotham's law enforcement, misled by the villain's machinations, threatened to ensnare Batman in a web of suspicion and distrust. In the end, as sirens wailed and Gotham's streets simmered with tension, the villain slipped away into the night. The Penguin's laughter echoed through the city, a mocking testament to his victory over order and justice. And amidst the chaos, Gotham's Dark Knight stood alone, a silent guardian amidst the shadows, haunted by the knowledge that the night had not yet revealed its darkest secrets. Chapter 8: The Gotham Chase. In the heart of Gotham City, chaos reigned. Ambulances flooded into the once serene Gotham Square, their flashing lights cutting through the night's darkness. Panic gripped the air as citizens fled, and police fired their guns skyward in futile attempts to deter the relentless onslaught of bats swooping from above. High above the chaos, on the slick rooftops that defined Gotham's skyline, Batman pursued his elusive quarry, Catwoman. She danced effortlessly from one icy ledge to another, leading him in a dangerous game of cat and bat across the city's rooftops. Catwoman reached the edge of a building, a mischievous grin playing on her lips. With a daring leap, she backflipped off the rooftop, disappearing into the darkness below. Batman hesitated for a moment, then peered over the edge. Below him, a narrow ledge hugged the building's facade, its window shattered, curtains fluttering in the wind. Undeterred, Batman prepared to descend, his cape fluttering in the cold night air. But Catwoman had other plans. Swift as her namesake, she doubled back silently, her whip snaking around Batman's leg. With a sharp tug, she sent him hurtling over the edge. Batman plummeted towards the ground, his reflexes kicking in just in time to halt his descent with a well-aimed grappling hook. Hanging precariously upside down, he struggled against the strain of his own weight, knowing that one wrong move meant a deadly fall. Above him, Catwoman reappeared, perched on the rooftop's edge like a feline taunting its prey. She dangled the prize she had stolen, a raven statuette, and engaged Batman in a playful yet flirtatious banter. Her voice, low and seductive, teased him as he fought to free himself from her trap. With a sudden swipe of her steel claws, Catwoman severed the whip that held Batman, sending him into a controlled descent towards the ground. He activated his cape's hidden mechanisms, transforming it into makeshift wings that slowed his fall. Despite the rough landing in slush-covered pavement, Batman emerged unyielding, ready to evade the pursuing police. In the chaotic aftermath, as sirens blared and Gotham's finest closed in, Batman maneuvered through the crowded streets, evading capture with agile prowess. He commandeered a horse from a startled mounted officer, using it to navigate the city's labyrinthine streets and parks, always one step ahead of the authorities. Finally, in a secluded drainage tunnel beneath Gotham Park, Batman encountered an unexpected ally. Dick, a young vigilante living in the shadows. Their brief clash gave way to understanding as Dick, recognizing Batman's plight, aided his escape with a diversionary tactic that baffled pursuing police. As dawn approached, Gotham City remained on edge. The night's events a whispered legend among its inhabitants. Batman, shrouded in mystery and cloaked in darkness, vanished into the shadows once more, leaving behind only questions and the promise of another night's justice. Bruce Wayne sits stiffly, nursing injuries visible beneath his shirt. Alfred tends to him with a mix of familiarity and concern, wrapping a bandage around Bruce's bruised ribs. There's an air of routine in their movements, punctuated by Alfred's calm voice. Commissioner Gordon's request echoes in Alfred's recounting: protection from Batman. Bruce listens, his expression a mix of weariness and wry amusement. Alfred's hands move skillfully, the tape wrapping around Bruce's torso, eliciting a sharp intake of breath from the stoic man. Despite the pain, Bruce manages a wry comment about the irony of needing protection from oneself. Alfred's response is measured, a hint of disapproval under his dry wit. He gently reminds Bruce of the risks he undertakes. Meanwhile, tensions rise outside of Brownstone. Plainclothes officers maintain their watchful vigil, communicating silently through gestures and nods. Their eyes trained on a particular point, they blend into the shadows, maintaining an unobtrusive presence. Inside the brownstone, the atmosphere is tense yet methodical. Police officers, scattered throughout, go about their tasks with determined efficiency. Packages and letters are scrutinized meticulously, suspicion lingering in every movement. Commissioner Gordon arrives, his presence commanding attention. He seeks updates, his voice firm as he navigates the controlled chaos. In the kitchen, bomb disposal experts handle a suspicious package cautiously, their movements deliberate. Amidst the police activity, Elliot Tiptree prepares his family for an abrupt departure. Emotions run high as farewells are exchanged, children clinging to familiar comforts amidst the uncertainty. Tiptree's concern is palpable, his fear mirrored in the eyes of his loved ones. The tension escalates as Gordon presses Tiptree for answers, a plea for insight into the unfolding crisis. Tiptree's helplessness is evident, his silence a barrier amid mounting suspicion. Gordon's stern demeanor underscores the gravity of the situation. In Wayne Manor, a solitary figure contemplates a letter, his solitude a stark contrast to the events unfolding elsewhere. Tiptree's actions are desperate yet calculated, his decisions driven by a fear that permeates the air. A carrier pigeon interrupts the stillness, its arrival signaling a clandestine message. The note, a stark warning, reveals the stakes of silence amidst pervasive danger. Bruce Wayne, in his library, absorbs the gravity of unfolding events, the weight of responsibility etched into his expression. Selina's arrival brings a brief respite, her presence a welcome distraction. Banter and familiarity punctuate their interaction, a fleeting moment of normalcy amid uncertainty. She lingers, curious and concerned, drawn to Bruce's enigmatic world. Their footsteps echo down a hallway, leading to a sanctuary of armaments and artifacts. Selina's awe is palpable, her fascination with Bruce's hidden world unabashed. Their exchange is playful yet laden with unspoken truths, a dance of words and glances. In the armory's embrace, Selina's enthusiasm mirrors Bruce's guarded revelation. Each piece holds a story, a fragment of Bruce's identity laid bare. Selina's request is earnest, a plea for intimacy in the face of looming shadows. Wayne Manor holds its breath, secrets and uncertainties swirling like mist. In the quietude, alliances and dangers intertwine, woven into the fabric of Gotham's restless night. And amidst it all, Bruce Wayne stands poised, a sentinel in his own realm of shadows and light. Chapter 9: The Secret of the Ravens. In the depths of the Batcave, Alfred labored over a printer, scanning through reams of data while Bruce, at a nearby terminal, tapped away furiously. Alfred approached Bruce with a revelation. The police had no records on Selina Kyle. Bruce, absorbed in his work, continued to scan through credit card transactions linking Selina to major art thefts across several continents. Alfred, perplexed, wondered aloud about Selina's motives. Bruce, fixated on the screen, muttered about a raven statuette stolen by Catwoman from Provost, puzzled over its significance. Alfred, lost in thought, suddenly recalled a small raven statue that had once belonged to Bruce's father, taken by George Tiptree decades ago. In Elliot Tiptree's bedroom, empty suitcases lay open on the bed while he hastily stuffed them with crumpled newspaper. The doorbell interrupted his frantic packing. Peering over the banister, Tiptree saw Bruce Wayne surrounded by wary cops. Bruce quipped about the search, prompting Tiptree to invite him upstairs away from prying eyes. In Tiptree's library, Bruce handed him a gift box, a Christmas present marred by police inspection. Inside, a diamond-studded tie clasp elicited a mix of emotions from Tiptree. Bruce's solemn expression hinted at deeper intentions as Tiptree, overwhelmed, confessed to Bruce about a secret legacy tied to the Waynes and the stolen ravens. Tiptree unfolded a tale of Gotham's corrupted birth, a robbery in 1880 that nearly bankrupted the city. 5 wealthy patriarchs, including General Oliver Wayne, intervened, rescuing Gotham by acquiring its riches in exchange for their aid. Tiptree revealed a secret passed down generations: 5 ravens, each holding a part of a treasure map to the stolen fortune. Bruce's face darkened with disbelief as Tiptree implicated his father in the city's shady history. Tensions mounted as Tiptree admitted his intent to surrender the final pieces of the puzzle to Batman, igniting a reckoning long overdue. Bruce, haunted by memories of his father's murder, confronted the legacy of his family's tainted wealth. Bruce, shattered by the revelations, stood motionless as Tiptree's confession echoed in the room. The weight of Gotham's buried secrets bore down on him, threatening to unravel everything he believed about his family's honor. Tiptree's resolve to end the cycle of corruption left Bruce grappling with the legacy he inherited, realizing that the true cost of Gotham's prosperity was paid in blood and betrayal. The sun dipped low beyond the wrought iron gates of Wayne Manor. Inside, Bruce lay motionless on his bed, surrounded by scrapbooks, family photos, and yellowed newspaper clippings detailing his parents' tragic murder. His gaze drifted across the familiar room, now imbued with an unfamiliar weight. Ignoring the persistent ring of the phone, Bruce folded his arms across his chest, weighed down by the burden of his heritage. In the kitchen, Vicky sipped coffee while Alfred answered the call, dismissing the police's inquiries. Vicky expressed her concern for Bruce, but Alfred knew there were depths in Bruce's heart no one could reach. Bruce appeared in the kitchen doorway as Alfred returned to his cooking. He sat opposite Vicky, grasping her hand tightly, struggling to compose himself. Mentioning Tiptree's plans involving Batman, Bruce resolved to intervene. Late that night, Tiptree stealthily descended his brownstone staircase, clutching an oversized suitcase. In the kitchen, cops played poker, oblivious to Tiptree's movements. He slipped into the dark parlor, Christmas lights twinkling. Under the tree, he retrieved a gift box labeled "To Daddy" and unwrapped it, revealing a set of raven statuettes. Casting a wary glance at the kitchen, Tiptree packed the statuettes into his suitcase and slipped into the hallway. Across the street, stakeout cops watched a Charlie Brown Christmas special until spotting Tiptree with his suitcase. The cops gave chase as Tiptree dashed down the block, headlights illuminating their pursuit. Tiptree darted into a subway entrance, disappearing into the depths. In the subway station, a violinist played near the turnstile. Cops, tripping over the musician's open case, hurried downstairs. They flashed their badges, leaping over the turnstile to pursue Tiptree, who boarded an express train just in time. On the train, Tiptree scanned the faces around him nervously. Unaccustomed to public transport, every passenger seemed a potential threat. Derelicts, teens, and a gaunt, silent figure distributing cards. This deaf-mute Frick passed Tiptree a card indicating Gotham Central Station, B train west to Riverview. Tiptree, anxious, ignored Frick until he shoved the card insistently into his face. Tiptree's trembling hand reached into his pocket, handing over a $20 bill as Frick moved on. Clutching his suitcase, Tiptree fidgeted with the tie clasp Bruce had gifted him. In a limo above ground, Bruce monitored an electronic tracer's movements. Alfred drove, navigating toward the subway. The tracer indicated Tiptree directly below them. At Gotham Central Station, Tiptree emerged onto a crowded platform, eyeing transit cops with apprehension. Sticking close to the tracks, he turned toward a stairway, attempting to blend into the crowd unnoticed. Downstairs, Tiptree sprinted for the closing doors of a B train. He managed to thrust his suitcase inside, but trapped his hand. With a terrified look, he watched the train lurch forward before stopping again, allowing him to retrieve the suitcase. Inside the moving subway car, Tiptree sat breathless. Streetwise strangers offered him a seat and handed him his suitcase, sympathetic to his plight. Moments later, Frick, the deaf-mute, entered the car once more, unbeknownst to Tiptree, unaware of his malevolent twin, Frack. Chapter 10. The Descent. After several train changes, Tiptree disembarked at a deserted local stop late at night. The station, empty except for a woman in a fur coat, echoed with the click of her stiletto heels. She passed him, her broad-brimmed hat obscuring her face. Tiptree waited expectantly with his suitcase. A black myna bird swooped onto the platform, commanding Tiptree to follow. It flew into the tunnel, its call echoing from the darkness. Tiptree hesitated, then clambered down awkwardly to the tracks, suitcase in hand. In a speeding limo, Bruce monitored Tiptree's movements using a tracer, concluding he was beneath the park. Alfred questioned their approach, but Bruce insisted he knew another way in. They veered into Gotham Park past General Wayne's statue. In the subway tunnel, Tiptree walked nervously along the dimly lit tracks, switching to avoid an approaching train. He glimpsed homeless people in an alcove, eyeing him curiously but making no move to interfere. Further along the tunnel, Tiptree reached a fork, relying on the myna bird's call to guide him in the darkness. He stumbled, dropping his suitcase, as a flashlight suddenly illuminated him. A voice ordered him to stop. Squinting, Tiptree faced an unseen figure, shielded by an open umbrella. The figure demanded Tiptree open the suitcase, revealing 2 ravens inside. Tiptree pleaded innocence, but the figure, known as Penguin, dismissed him with a chilling warning. As Tiptree retreated, he heard an approaching train. A short time later, in the subway, Bruce Wayne, now dressed as Batman, clashed with Catwoman in a violent struggle. Batman managed to overpower her briefly before a train approached on both sides. With trains closing in, Batman pulled Catwoman to safety in an alcove, narrowly avoiding disaster. Using his Batwing device, she inadvertently triggered its mechanism, sending Batman careening into the path of an oncoming train. Dick, a young vigilante, seized Tiptree's suitcase and fled, pursued by Penguin and Catwoman. Batman knelt beside Dick, wounded but alive, while his enemies disappeared into the tunnels, leaving behind a trail of chaos. The stark outlines of Gotham City stood out against the night sky, bathed in moonlight. The ornamental dome of City Hall glowed in the dark night. Inside, the pentagonal balcony girded the interior of the dome, tilting down to ground level where 2 aged security guards lay sprawled on the marble floor, fatally shot. The Penguin closed his gun umbrella and waddled across the atrium, past a statue of Blind Justice, to a point directly under the dome. Encased in a plexiglass case was a scale model of Gotham City, circa 1885. He looked up expectantly. On the balcony under the dome, Catwoman, Frick, and Frack were already at work. Display cases of historical interest lined the periphery, and 5 arched niches along the wall contained bronze busts of Gotham's 5 families. Catwoman removed 5 ravens from a gunny sack as Frick and Frack yanked the busts from their bases. She followed, replacing each bust with a raven. The Penguin watched with bated breath as his associates twisted each raven a quarter turn. Moments of tension passed, and nothing happened. Frustration bubbled over, and the Penguin began stamping and sputtering in rage. Suddenly, the sound of ancient gears grinding filled the air. The city model trembled slightly, and the dome of the miniature city hall popped off on a hinge. A metal strongbox rose into view. From the balcony, Catwoman, Frick, and Frack stared down as the Penguin clambered atop the plexiglass case, smashing at it with his umbrella. The case shattered, and the Penguin fell through, landing atop Gotham City. He snatched the strongbox and got to his feet, climbing down with the box. Catwoman touched down behind him on a rope. The Penguin knocked the rusted padlock off the box, revealing a map and old, crumbling photos inside. He hunched over the contents, a gleam of greed in his eyes. The photos showed progressively closer views of ancient, gnarled stalactites in a distinctive subterranean rock formation. He realized it was a map leading to a treasure right under Wayne Manor. Later, in Wayne Manor, Dick lay unconscious in a guest bedroom. A woman's hand wiped his feverish brow with a damp cloth. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open, and he sat bolt upright with a yelp. Disoriented, he pushed aside the woman, Vicky, who tried to calm him. Despite his shoulder being bandaged and his arm in a sling, he climbed out of bed and paced about, taking in his unfamiliar surroundings. Vicky tried to reassure him, showing him his ratty belongings hanging in a closet, including his red and green gymnast's suit with the R insignia. Dick was wary and defiant, insisting he didn't belong there and couldn't stay. At the doorway stood Bruce, who commanded a presence that immediately mesmerized Dick. Bruce's mere presence hinted at an unspoken understanding between them. Alfred, carrying a tray of hot food, entered and set it down. Despite his agitation, Dick sat and began eating hungrily, all the while keeping a wary eye on Bruce. Bruce assured Vicky that everything would be all right before leaving the room. Outside the guest room, Bruce and Alfred had a brief conversation about Dick's future. Bruce, with a steely gaze, indicated that he knew more about the boy's situation than he let on. As the phone rang, Alfred answered and informed Bruce that it was Miss Kyle. Bruce rushed back upstairs to take the call. Meanwhile, in the Penguin's lair, Arctic birds chirped around the room. A snow owl strutted across the desk as Selina made a phone call with the Penguin, Frick, and Frack hovering over her, plotting their next move. It was Christmas Eve at Wayne Manor, where festive carols played softly in the front parlor. Vicky and Dick were busy trimming the tree together. Upstairs in Bruce's bedroom, Alfred expressed concern as Bruce prepared for his date with Selina. Bruce armed himself with capsules from his utility belt, assuring Alfred of their potency. Downstairs in the entry hall, Dick watched silently as Bruce and Vicky exchanged brief words before Bruce left for his date. Vicky returned to the parlor, attempting a cheerful demeanor, but Dick remained wary in this unfamiliar household. Meanwhile, at Selina's loft, soft music filled the air as Selina elegantly prepared for her evening. She adorned herself in a sultry gown, teasingly adjusting her appearance in the mirror. When Bruce arrived early, he was momentarily stunned by Selina's alluring presence. She greeted him casually, holding her dress in place. As they settled into conversation, Bruce noted the absence of Christmas decorations, to which Selina cryptically responded about being a bad girl. Bruce probed about her intentions, particularly regarding the stolen ravens. Their exchange was charged with tension and subtle manipulation. Selina leaned in for a passionate kiss, but Bruce, sensing something amiss, became resistant. A brief struggle ensued, during which Selina bit Bruce's neck, injecting him with a paralytic drug hidden in her lipstick. Bruce reacted slowly, trying to reach for a countermeasure, but gradually succumbing to paralysis. As Bruce lay immobilized on the floor, Selina taunted him playfully. The Penguin, along with Frick and Frack, entered, laughing at Bruce's plight, revealing their complicity in the trap. The room echoed with their sinister amusement, leaving Bruce helpless and betrayed in Selina's clutches. Chapter 11. The Shadows Peril. The night was dark and quiet at Wayne Manor. The night began with a county sheriff's car cruising past the imposing structure, adhering to its routine patrol. Inside, Alfred was on the phone with the sheriff's department, reassuring them that everything was in order. In the parlor, Vicky Vale sat curled up on a sofa, anxiously waiting for Bruce Wayne. She glanced repeatedly at the grandfather clock, which ominously struck 11. Upstairs, in a guest bedroom, Dick Grayson was in the midst of a clandestine departure. Dick carefully opened the bedroom door, peeking down the hall to ensure no one was around. His belongings were bundled up on the bed, ready for a quick escape. He opened the window and threw the bundle outside, eyeing a sturdy tree branch just within reach. With determination, he climbed onto the windowsill and sprang towards the branch, hoping to make his escape unnoticed. Meanwhile, a car full of trouble idled outside the wrought iron gates of Wayne Manor. Selina Kyle, dressed in her Catwoman garb under a fur coat, was at the wheel. The Penguin sat beside her in the passenger seat, while Frick sat in the back next to Bruce Wayne, who was semi-conscious and limp. The car idled as they prepared to breach the manor's security. Penguin, ever the opportunist, instructed Frick to search Bruce's pockets for a magnetic card to open the gates. Frick found a bunch of red capsules, mocking Bruce as a pillhead, before locating the card and using it to gain access. As the gates parted, a van driven by Frack, carrying additional goons, followed them in. Inside Wayne Manor, Vicky's anxiety turned to relief at the sound of the security panel signaling Bruce's arrival. Rushing to the door, she flung it open, her face lighting up upon seeing Bruce. But her joy turned to horror as he collapsed forward, landing flat on the floor. She screamed, and the Penguin entered, arms wide in a mocking greeting of "Merry Christmas." Outside, Dick Grayson had shimmied down a lower tree branch and dropped into the snow. Hearing raucous laughter from around the house, he peered around a corner to see the intruders entering through the front door. Confused and conflicted, he moved to a window and saw Bruce on the floor. Vicky surrounded by gun-toting goons, one of whom twisted her arm behind her back. In the entry hall, Vicky was shrieking and struggling. Selina Kyle smirked, dismissing Vicky's concern for Bruce as first-time jitters. Alfred, drawn by the commotion, rushed down the stairs, but froze when he saw Vicky being dragged into the front parlor at gunpoint. The Penguin, brandishing his own weapon, commanded Alfred to join the party. In the front parlor, the intruders were already assembled. Vicky was thrown roughly onto a sofa beside the Christmas tree, while the goons dragged Bruce inside. The Penguin explained their purpose, a treasure hidden beneath the house. He demanded to know how to access the cave, threatening Vicky when she pleaded ignorance. Turning his attention to Alfred, the Penguin sneered at his defiance. As Frick held a gun to Vicky's head, Alfred weighed his options, trembling. But just as he was about to blurt something out, Selina intervened, suggesting they keep Vicky alive in case Bruce knew the way. Relieved, Alfred and Vicky exchanged a silent nod. Selina, eyeing Vicky with malevolent intent, announced she wanted Vicky for herself. Meanwhile, the Penguin ordered Frick and Frack to tie up Bruce. As Alfred and Vicky sat, Selina wandered off to explore the house. In a back parlor, Frick and Frack bound Bruce with telephone cords. Returning to the front parlor, the Penguin admired the plush furnishings, remarking on the tastefulness of the decor. Alfred couldn't contain a snort of disgust, prompting the Penguin to sweep a bunch of priceless china figurines to the floor in a rage. Selina reappeared with a tray of Christmas cookies, much to the Penguin's disappointment. He nonetheless stuffed his face, while Selina graciously served Vicky and Alfred. The Penguin then ordered his minions to search the house, instructing Frick and Frack to keep an eye on their captives. As the intruders fanned out, Bruce's eyes flickered open. He struggled against his bonds, while the others systematically tore the house apart in search of the cave entrance. Dick, meanwhile, crept back into the manor and sawed at Bruce's bonds with a letter opener. In the corridor off the kitchen, a security alarm blared as someone smashed through a locked door. Frick and Frack reacted, one staying behind, while the other investigated the source of the alarm. Vicky and Alfred, tense with anticipation, watched Dick and Bruce's progress. Dick managed to free Bruce, who, still groggy, directed him towards the library. In the entry hall, the Penguin demanded to know the cause of the alarm. As Frack explained, Alfred made a desperate move, lunging at Frick for his gun. The ensuing chaos gave Dick and Bruce just enough time to slip away. However, Alfred, overpowered, was shot at point-blank range. In the library, Bruce, struggling to stay conscious, directed Dick to the secret passage. The bookcase swung open, revealing the entrance to the Batcave. Back in the parlor, Alfred's wound was revealed to be superficial, and Vicky began tending to him as the Penguin and Frack prepared to search the ground floor. The Penguin, glancing into the back parlor, saw the cut cords and realized Bruce was missing. His face drained of color as he realized Bruce Wayne somehow got free of his bonds. Meanwhile, Dick stepped into the Batcave, a world completely different from anything he had ever seen before. Bruce was busy with a utility belt, shaking out a handful of pills and swallowing them dry. He then moved to his bank of monitors, flipping switches that made the screens blink on one by one. Dick, dazzled by the array of monitors, moved closer to Bruce to watch. One of the monitors displayed the Penguin in a sunroom, shouting orders to his armed goons through a pair of French doors, instructing them to check the grounds, convinced that their target couldn't have gotten far. Two goons, armed with guns and flashlights, roamed cautiously around the grounds. Suddenly, corrugated steel security panels slammed into place over every ground floor door and window in Wayne Manor. The Penguin watched the security panels lock into place from the inside, listening helplessly as his goons pounded on the steel panels from outside. He realized he was trapped. Dick climbed a catwalk leading back to the library of Wayne Manor. Bruce, from the control console down below, shouted up to him, giving him instructions. Dick nodded and bolted off. Vicky and Alfred were still sitting at gunpoint. With all the commotion around them, Frick, one of the goons, became increasingly anxious. Suddenly, the stereo blared to life with, "Santa, bring my baby back to me." Frick turned in confusion to fiddle with the controls. Bruce's voice suddenly boomed through the loudspeakers, urging Vicky to run. She sprang off the sofa and dove for the entry hall. Frick turned to aim his gun, but Dick appeared out of nowhere and high-kicked him in the face. The shot went wild, and the two of them tumbled into the Christmas tree, knocking it over. Vicky hit the floor and saw huge oaken sliding doors slamming shut behind her, sealing off the east wing of the house. Dick cartwheeled across the carpet, hitting Frick in the chest and ramming him backward into the hearth. Before Frick could regain his balance, Dick knocked him out with a fireplace poker. He picked up Frick's gun and tossed it to Alfred, who watched the scene with fascination. Vicky made it to the wall phone, but couldn't get a dial tone. She turned in horror to see Selina standing there, taunting her. Selina raised a hand, and her claws popped out. Vicky grabbed a carving knife from a wooden block, but Selina's whip cracked around her wrist, jerking the knife loose. Vicky lunged forward, throwing Selina off balance and into the center island. They tangled up, and Vicky grabbed a meat cleaver, trying to bring it down on Selina. Selina rolled out of the way and swiped at Vicky with her claws, but Vicky blocked the blow with a skillet. Vicky then swept her arm across the countertop, showering Selina with knives and appliances, buying herself enough time to make for the door. Selina followed, but Vicky shoved a butcher's block into her path, wedging Selina's talons in the wood. Vicky rushed out while Selina tried to pry herself loose. Selina entered but found no trace of Vicky. Vicky suddenly charged out from behind a sideboard, pushing a wheeled cocktail cart that slammed full force into Selina, knocking her onto the dining table. Vicky reached the doorway to the entry hall by the time Selina got up. Vicky raced up the stairs with Selina in pursuit. Selina reached the landing just as Vicky ducked down the hall and into a bedroom, locking the door behind her. Selina kicked the door open and entered the bedroom, where Vicky had opened a pair of French doors leading to a balcony, but the drop was too long. Vicky stood paralyzed as Selina advanced. Selina grabbed Vicky, holding her at arm's length before shoving her roughly back onto the bed. Vicky flailed wildly as Selina knelt atop her, her claws shredding Vicky's blouse and drawing a red stripe on her exposed belly. Vicky shrieked uncontrollably, and Selina raised her claw hand to slash down at Vicky's neck. Just before she could strike, a black shadow fell across the moonlit bed. A black-gloved hand grabbed a fistful of Selina's hair, yanking her bodily off the bed. Batman delivered a powerhouse uppercut, sending Selina flying into the door, knocking it off its hinges. Batman stepped out after Selina, who picked herself up, limping. She hissed and jumped at him, and they grappled, exchanging a quick flurry of fists before he knocked her down the long stairway. She got to her feet, limping around a corner, as Batman followed slowly. Meanwhile, the Penguin had taken Vicky and Alfred hostage, holding a gun on them. He spotted the Batmobile parked on its plateau and noticed a distinctive rock formation in an upper vault of the cavern. He nudged Vicky with the gun, forcing her to lead the way across a long, narrow catwalk. Selina, moving slowly, loped down the hallway, passing the balcony overlooking the entry hall when Batman appeared ahead. Instead of fighting, she slumped against a wall and began to laugh. Batman approached cautiously, and Selina suddenly delivered a high kick to his throat, causing him to reel backward into a wall. She leaped onto the narrow banister railing above the entry hall floor and prepared to spring at the chandelier. As she launched off, Batman rolled and fired a razor-sharp disc that sliced through the chain suspending the chandelier. The chandelier fell as Selina caught hold of it, and she plummeted to the floor, landing hard on her back amidst the wreckage. Batman advanced slowly down the stairs. Selina lay there, unmoving, whimpering in pain. Batman crouched down beside her, still cautious. Selina tried to move but couldn't. Batman reached for his belt, extracting a glassine capsule and breaking it open. He dropped it amid the shattered glass around her face. A tiny cloud of green gas plumed out, and Selina's hand fell limply at her side as she lapsed into unconsciousness. Batman stood over her for a moment as Dick appeared, watching. The Penguin forced Vicky to jump to a stone outcropping, then followed nervously. They cautiously made their way up toward the rock formation when Batman appeared at the far end of the catwalk. The Penguin, holding Vicky close, continued climbing. As they neared the rock formation, the Penguin peered into a vast grotto filled with a fortune in gold and silver bullion. A startled bat flew out of the gap in the rocks, and the Penguin fired his gun wildly. The noise roused more bats, and they came flying out in a vast, chittering swarm. Vicky took a deep breath and vaulted toward the catwalk, grabbing the railing and hanging over the abyss. Batman raced toward her, but the Penguin grabbed his gun and fired, knocking Batman backward. Batman managed to grab the rail with one hand, and both he and Vicky were hanging from the catwalk. Batman pulled a tiny device from his utility belt and flung it at the Penguin's feet. It emitted an eerie electronic whine, and the bats homed in on the signal. The Penguin, paralyzed with fear, was engulfed by the bats and plunged into the pit, his scream echoing and then fading away. Batman dragged himself up onto the catwalk and pulled Vicky to safety, draping his cape around her protectively. As the bats receded to their perches, he stood and helped Vicky to her feet. They embraced on the edge of the abyss. On the far plateau, Dick and Alfred, weary and exhausted, made their way to the stairway. Chapter 12. Christmas Reckoning. In the quiet aftermath of chaos, Wayne Manor stood as a sanctuary amidst the flashing lights of squad cars. Frick and Frack, now in custody, were escorted away while paramedics hurried Selena, unconscious, into an ambulance. Inside the once grand hall, the scene told of a fierce struggle. Bruce Wayne, alongside Commissioner Gordon and Lieutenant Bullock, surveyed the aftermath. Alfred, tended to by a police doctor, nursed a gunshot wound amid the wreckage. Gordon, somber and grateful, queried Bruce about Batman's timely intervention. Bruce nodded solemnly, suspecting Selena's involvement in the recent murders. With a final wish of luck, Gordon departed, leaving Bruce to observe Vicky and her young cousin Dick, attempting to restore order to the disheveled Christmas decorations. Alone momentarily, Bruce contemplated the events of the night and the uncertain future ahead. Alfred, perhaps sensing his thoughts, played Silent Night softly in the background. Vicky approached Bruce, her concern evident. She inquired about the fate of the discovered gold, but Bruce's mind was on something else: a future beyond the Batcave. As Vicky embraced Bruce, the Christmas tree lights flickered on, marking the midnight hour. The air filled with a sense of peace amidst the chaos. Vicky, emphasizing their safety and togetherness, dismissed the significance of material possessions. Yet, Bruce insisted. With a tender smile, he produced a small gift box from his pocket. Vicky opened it to find a diamond ring, a gesture of commitment and hope for their future together. Overwhelmed, Vicky looked up at Bruce, her eyes reflecting the depth of their connection. Vicky fell into Bruce's embrace, while Dick observed quietly, and Alfred methodically cleared debris, all bound together in an unconventional yet resilient family unit. The night, once fraught with danger, now held a promise of renewal and closeness, a testament to their enduring strength and unity.